All right, good morning, everybody. So looking at our trade plan from yesterday, it's basically the same going into this morning because we are opening up pretty much exactly where we actually opened up on the pre-market. It sold off a little bit, but then it retraced that entire move. Slightly bearish, obviously, because you're leaning towards that bottom of that day, bottom of Friday. A little bit bottom heavy. But you could say that this is a little bit of a sweep and we're kind of returning back into value. So if we stay above that 90, we are looking to rotate back into that 625 and then possibly a breakout above that into 630, 650, somewhere around there. If it stays below 90, then it goes back towards that overnight low and then the lower value, which kind of targets those consecutive P-shaped lows that we were not testing. So very important to see how it reacts to this 590 area. And we probably could even lower this to 590 as well. Just to push that point a little bit more. Not really a micro pullback. It's more so just an overlapping value. But same thing on NASDAQ here. We do want to lower this to that lower value, so around 865. And then we can just lower these targets a little bit. So around 70. And then our extension is somewhere around 200. It's not like a perfect level, but the tail extension is somewhere around that 200 area. Yeah, it's a little bit more bearish on NASDAQ here. It is losing that value low back into that rollover. And you can see that rollover magnet is just doing a damn good job pulling it back into it. We've been stuck on that level for like 3 weeks now. It's kind of insane. If it does pop back up into that value low, watch that 865. Then we have the value retrace back into 70. And then possibly the tail extension, like I said. Staying below 865, you're just remaining bearish. So any pullback here is still actually kind of bearish because we are losing value and pushing those lower tails. Okay, so keep an eye on that. So we could see a lot of buy pressure at the open, but if it does not stay above 865, it's kind of a trap. And also for NASDAQ, I'd almost consider this like a capital B instead of just a P shape into a D shape, which ES is kind of showing here, which by the way, we have a little bit of a gap there on Sunday. So P shape into more of a D shape on ES. Like I was saying, bit more bearish on NQ. Okay, let me post that on YouTube for you here. And then we'll go over the calendar real quick. All right, there you go. There's the trade plan for you guys. Good morning, everybody. Want a future AT, Banana, Scott, Peter, Ken, Greg, Julio, Scott, Larry, Ike, Peter, Lubmir, Defario, Stream, Crown, Roman, eBay. Good morning, Ray, Roma, Scott, Fernando, Typhoon, Panama, Faraj, appreciate you guys being here. Happy Monday, guys. For our calendar, let's see. This week is CPI week. So not a whole lot today, but CPI tomorrow. Then we have PPI on Wednesday, and then not a whole lot on Thursday, Friday. Just kind of like housing data, a little bit of medium data. But biggest thing is CPI on Tuesday, and then PPI on Wednesday. Nefario, yeah, I'll say this quickly for all you guys that are new to my channel. Because he's responding to me timing him out on Friday because he was talking about politics. So for all you guys that are new to my channel, I literally only have like two main rules. One is don't talk about politics, and one is don't ask me about my trades, right? Don't come in here and be like, how much money do I make? Or am I in a trade? Or should I buy here? Should I sell here? All that shit, right? And really quickly about the politics side, it's not so much like don't talk about politics entirely. It's really just like the constant negativity and the back and forth like polarization. If you're like mentioning a headline like word for word and not giving your opinion on it, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that are constantly in here like saying fuck Trump and or I love Trump. Like it goes both ways, like good or bad. I just don't give a shit. I don't want to hear it. I don't care about your guys' opinions about politics. If you're referring to headlines, like almost exactly, like word for word, that's not what I'm talking about. That's perfectly fine. But giving me your opinions, whether they're good or bad, I just don't care about it. I don't want to see it. You guys get like 2 warnings. If it happens again, you just get permabanned. It's that simple. Politics obviously tie into the stock market. So we do have to talk about it every now and then. Like I pull up the headlines, I talk about the headlines as they come in. But I'm not going to sit here and allow you guys to like debate back and forth whether you like Trump or you don't like him, or that goes for like any person in government, not just Trump. Trump's just the big name. I'm not going to sit here and let you guys go back and forth and talk about it in chat. It's one of the most cancerous things I've had to deal with as a streamer, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have had to deal with just being on the internet. It's entirely cancerous. It's negativity just nonstop, and I'm just not dealing with it. It's that simple. If you guys don't like that, find a different channel. This is not a politics channel. We're here to talk about markets. We're here to trade. You didn't know the rule. You have to accept the rules to even type in chat. YouTube shows you the rules before you can even send your first message. And you did know the rules on Friday because I banned you before Friday. That was your second warning on Friday. Your first warning was like a week ago. But all right, let's talk about the markets here. You're bouncing off VWAP on the open. Like I said on the trade plan, you can have a little bit of buy pressure here on NASDAQ, but it's kind of a little bit of a trap. Until it stays above 865, that buy pressure can be rejected. So be careful here. So right now, the buy pressure is just a rotation on Monday. Today, right? We're rotating today's profile. If it stays above 820, it could be a retrace back into Friday, but we have to stay above 865 for that to happen. So any buy pressure that rejects 865 is just a trap. Not exactly the same on ES, because ES is still rotating Friday. Sucks that Connor got injured. Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a little bit when the market calms down. But yeah, not the greatest. Good morning, Anthony, Leslie, NQ. Good morning, ATF. Good morning, Flory. Good morning, Victor. Good morning, Michael. We'll also talk about the alpha future stuff in a little bit, if you guys heard about that. So when the market calms down, we'll talk about a few things. Good morning, trader. Okay, very different price action here. You're getting that bullish pressure on ES. Like I said, still stuck in that rotation of Friday, but you are losing that value of Friday on NQ, so a bit weaker. So oil's still curling up a little bit, not really a big move there. Dollar and yields are pretty flat, so all of our other markets are not really pushing us around right now. Semiconductor sector and manufacturing that ties into it are both a little red today. Energy's doing okay. Finance, smaller sectors not doing too bad. What's that one, DMG? I haven't seen what you're talking about. The open, high, low, close. What do you mean? Good morning, Ryder. Is this failing to rotate here, or did we just barely finish it? We just barely finished it, so the rotation is 608 there. We did not finish the rotation on Friday, going back to 625. Pretty flat momentum on the 30-minute. Also, a little bit of a cupping pattern on the 15. Going back into that rotation. Pretty flat on the 1 hour, kind of aiming to the upside. 5-minute kind of confirming that cupping pattern, bouncing off the trail there. And then 1 minute kind of confirming it as well. So it's all kind of like a 15-minute trap. Still a lot of weakness on NQ. Okay, right now we are in a downward rotation. Still looking a little bit weak. If it holds below 90, it's losing today and Friday's value, so not a great move for the buyers if they stay below 90. Oh, I got you, DMG. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. I think I'm like one update behind on the newest update I don't have. Keep an eye on VWAP. They really need to protect that 90 to like 95 area, or that sell pressure on NQ is going to pull you down. You are respecting today's value. You failed that value high damn near perfectly. We'll see if it wants to respect that value low. Losing 90, we go into those tails, basically. We have all these untested tails below. If you do close very bearish today, we are leaving quite a big gap on that Sunday gap there. Back to that 25. Do we have one on NQ? So NQ nearly filled it in. You can see that big move up was trying to fill it in, which it basically did. Can you see that on the daily? You cannot see it on the daily, so it's not that major that it needs to be filled in. The ones that you can see on a daily, they have a lot higher chance of being filled in. Keep an eye on this 90 level. We lose that 90, it gets a lot worse, but anything above 90 is not too bad. Those bears on NASDAQ kind of dragging you down here. You're seeing kind of a consecutive bull flag into VWAP, but The difference with this one here is this one took a lot longer and it was a lot weaker. So the buyers could push up a lot easier. This one's a lot faster and it's a lot stronger delta-wise. So this one's a little bit weaker on the buy side. Yeah, I've been playing around with the heat map on Addis. I just don't have my level 2 data yet, and I was planning on whether or not I want to make a video on the heat map and like level 2. It's a hard one because I used to use it a lot, so I definitely could make a video on it and talk about little techniques here and there, but I don't use it every single day, so it's one of those things where it's like, do I make a video on something that I don't actively use every day? So I'm still debating on how I want to do that. But yeah, I used to use it quite a bit if you guys were watching back in like the crypto days. At least a short. It definitely would not fit in a short. So if I make a video, it'd probably be like if I had to guess, like 15 or 20 minutes. But yeah, I'll check the update because mine was, it was crashing before and then I fixed it with a couple of settings and then it's been doing pretty good. And then I think they just updated it recently with another kind of optimization update. So now might be a decent time. You can see they're really trying to protect VWAP here. Good morning, Olive. Have I ever placed trades on TradingView? Not on TradingView directly, no. I don't use those third-party plugins. I don't really need to, I guess, because I literally have my Tradeovate pulled up like 24/7. So I can just place trades on Tradeovate. I don't need the plugin. The plugin just adds a little bit more latency and things that can go wrong and lag. I can just place my orders directly on the broker itself. Yeah, basically anytime you add another layer, add another third-party plugin, it's going to add a little bit of latency. But it just really depends on how fast their system is. Like if you're adding it to something like Addis or NT that have like really fast data, it's not going to change really at all. But if you're adding it to something like TradingView, which is a lot slower than the broker itself, then it's going to add a little bit of delay. We are stuck in that danger zone, that chop zone between the two VWAPs here. Basically just meaning the morning so far is kind of going against the pre-market. And they're kind of fighting each other a little bit. Don't you find it annoying that you can't see your open trade on the charts with all your indicators? Not really. I see what you mean. Like how you could just easily track it all if it was all on one chart. But no, it doesn't really bother me. Because I have like on my trade rate, it's usually like if this is my screen, I have like a DOM, and then I have like my orders kind of on the bottom. And then I have like this big chart here that is tracking my trades and my orders. So like if I wanted to chart trade, I can do it here. If I wanted to DOM trade, I can do it here. And if I wanted to just like press the buttons and like cancel my orders, I can do it on the bottom or on the top. They're like also up here as well. So it's all just kind of in one spot. Okay, here's that 90 level. If it stays below 90, then it is breaking out of balance. But right now, you're technically just in a rotation. Obviously not in a rotation on NQ. You're still pretty bearish on that one. And here is that first target kind of around that overnight low. Then you have like the value levels as well. You have the 469 to like kind of 330 area, 200. More of like a bear flag. You can see what I mean here about being stuck between VWAP. So you had a pullback into VWAP here, little bull flag, and then we try to do the same thing here, but then we got stuck below that daily VWAP. We failed it like 3 times. And now we are losing the session VWAP. Any bull divs here on NASDAQ? Yeah, there is a small bull div here. It kind of looked like that pattern. Pretty much any time there's a pattern like this, it's like a pendulum swing pattern. There is a bull div. So keep an eye on the trail if it does want to bounce here back to 597. You're kind of forming a bull div on the 5-minute, but that's a very far way to draw a bull div. You typically don't draw them like that. It's not a bull div on the delta. It's only a bull div on momentum. You're putting in a higher low, but you're putting in a lower low on price. And here's the pullback to the trail that I was talking about. There's the pullback to the trail. So whenever there's a bull div or a bear div, you always target that trail, kind of the responsive area. And then from there, you can see how it reacts to see if it wants to give you a much larger reversal. Does it just break right through and continue to get that buy pressure? Or does it completely stall there? So far, it's not really stalling. It looks okay. Keep an eye on VWAP, though. It's kind of pulling back to VWAP. Yeah, not a bad bull div. Gave you like 70 points. Okay, nothing special here. We are back into rotation, so keep an eye on that 775. And we're actually finishing the rotation already. Very, very fast rotation on ES. It's going from 92 to 607, about 15 points. But there's that 90 being protected that we talked about. damn near the bottom of that move, almost like literally to the tick. Yeah, so far, strong break of that trail. So like I was saying, if you're trading a bull div here, and you see something like that where it's not really stalling too much, it's not really pulling back, that's what gives you those runners, right? And those runners can obviously go on for quite a while if it wants to flip the entire trend kind of back to where it was. Yeah, very obvious bull div there. You put in a lower low on price and a higher low on momentum. And then you kind of stalled out for a couple of dojis, like 4 1-minute dojis. Then you broke out into the trail. All right, keep an eye on this upper area here around like 07 to 10 because that's where it should be finding sellers if it wants to rotate back down. But this is a pretty strong delta surge we are seeing here, so they're breaking balance a little bit. And here's that waterfall that we talk about where like it broke the 1-minute trail. So if you're leaving a runner and you want to see how strong it actually gets, you keep an eye on all of those trails. So like 5-minute, 15, 30. We're not breaking the 5 minutes, so it's getting a little weak. Some block trades coming in there. I don't think it was fast enough to say it was a headline, but there are some blocks coming in. Yeah, Ray, it's not really a stochastic. This is something I created. It doesn't use any of those formulas that stochastics or MACD or any of that shit uses. Big reason why I created that indicator is because I don't like the way that RSI and stochastics and MACD and all that other stuff does momentum. It's a complete logic-based formula that is made from scratch. It's not pulling from any of those momentum oscillators. Difficult to trade the market with the trail right now? Yeah, with the trailing stop for sure. The market's definitely kind of sweeping back and forth. Good morning, Patriot. Good morning, Ringo. Do I have a separate indicator and Addis for block trades on the candlesticks? No, it's the same one. It's just a big trades indicator. They're both big trades. This one is just shown as a diamond instead of a circle. Okay, this is becoming a trap. You failed that 5-minute pullback. And now the buyers are being trapped a little bit. It's not a trap on ES, like I said, as long as we are in that same area, we are just rotating back and forth. So you failed 07, now it's rotating back down to 92. It was 90 earlier, now it's being pushed up a little bit. It's around 92 to 93 now. If we build a node above 607, then we look for that value high. If it builds a node below 90, then we look for the overnight low. But in between, you are just rotating. Let's see what he said here. He said, how can you tell when it wants to trade in the previous real-time hour session versus the overnight? That's my biggest struggle, is identifying the value. I'm assuming you're talking about, like... Are you talking about, like, how do we know, is it gonna rotate here, or is it gonna rotate here? Like, is it gonna rotate the big picture? If that is your question, there's not an easy way. The only way is to see what happens around that value high, which is exactly what we just did. So what we just talked about is we need to see if there's a node building above that 607, then we look for that 625. But if we go back to how it reacted to 607, it was a horrendous reaction. You had one breakout candle here, then our first candle that was trading above 607 instantly failed, and then we just rotated back down. So we had one singular candle trying to trade outside of that value high, and it instantly failed. So it's really just about how that reaction plays out. You could also even say it's kind of a bear div. It's a little far away to say it's a bear div, but what you can say is it's losing delta. So the reaction is just terrible. If it would have continued to get that very strong delta above 607, then it would have been a different story. But literally, the only candle that traded above 607 failed. It was a doji candle, and then it failed. There was no breakout of that candle. Yeah, Leslie, that's okay. Stuff like that is fine. When I say like, don't ask me about my trading, it's not like methodology or like the setups or the playbook stuff. I talk about that stuff all the time. Like I'm teaching that stuff actively. What I'm talking about is like, don't come in here and ask me like, should I buy here or should I sell here or are you in a trade and how much money did you make today? Like stupid shit like that. But like talking about methods, setups, playbooks, that's all perfectly reasonable. But yeah, let me see what you said here. You said, do you place limit orders at key levels or market orders? It really depends. If I like really think that, let's take like a rollover top, for example. If we had like a rollover top, or we put in a little sweep and then we went to put in like a lower high, if I really thought that that area where the lower high was going to come in was going to be very fast, like maybe it was going to wick it and then it was going to instantly fail, I might put a limit order there just so I don't miss that trade. Maybe in like rotations, like if you have like a very obvious D-shaped profile and you're rotating back and forth, you might put limit orders on the value high and value low. But vast majority of the time, like we were just talking about with the way that we reacted to that value high earlier, you want to see how it reacts, right? So you want to see like, are we actually building value above it or are we just failing it right away? So an example like that is how you would have used a market order, because it would have broke through that level. You would have waited. Okay, now we're losing that value high. We're immediately failing that level. Then you can put in a market order to get in that trade. If you would have put a limit order on the value high, you would have still got in that trade and you probably would have made money. But when it started to break out of that value high, that probably would have scared you a bit. So very scary to put in limit orders without seeing like any kind of confirmation. So if you are like absolutely sure and you really think that value level or whatever you're trading is going to react pretty much right away, you can use a limit order. But most of the time you want to wait and see how it reacts, then use a market order. Yeah, so yeah, we can talk about that now. Good morning, Tamer. We'll talk about the UFC while it's chopping around here. Um, I don't agree, Ike. I think it's one of those instances where something happened during the fight, so now people are hyper analyzing every little thing that happened before the fight, and they're trying to say like, oh, he was injured before, or oh, this little detail here. Oh, look at how he got out of the car. Look at how he couldn't take his shoe off. Like, I don't agree. I think people are hyper analyzing every little thing. If you go back to his pre training in the locker room, literally right before he walks out, he is training that exact same kick, and it shows him doing that kick like 10 times. And he doesn't land weird. He doesn't act like he hurt himself. It looks completely normal without the hindsight information of him actually tearing his ACL or whatever it was. But then if you use that hindsight information and you look at it, yeah, maybe one or two times he might land a little bit weird when he's throwing that kick. It's just one of those things. Dana White said it perfectly in the post fight because the reporter asked that exact same question, and the reporter said, "Do you think he was injured because he like limped a little bit or whatever?" And Dana was like, during the what do they call it? The weigh-ins, during the pre-workout, during all the shit that happened before, we had the largest viewership we have like ever had, and we had like 40 million plus people or whatever he said watching the shorts and watching the videos of the pre-market of the pre-fight stuff, and not a single person like said anything about that. But then as soon as he tore his ACL or whatever, everybody's a detective and saying that he was injured before. I just think it's exactly what I talk about with fighters. Their body quits before their mind quits. Their body just cannot do it anymore. And he's just old, man. Like, he's not old, obviously, in the grand scheme of things. He's old as a fighter. Once you're over like 30 to 35 years old as a MMA fighter, your career is coming to an end. Then you have a couple of freaks of nature like Gaethje, who's like somehow in his prime at what, 38 or 37, however old he is. He's like in his prime, damn near approaching 40. It makes literally no sense. So you have exceptions, but vast majority of the time, once they're above 30, 35, their body just starts giving out on them. I feel bad for Conor, to be honest. Like as a fighter, everybody's talking so much shit to Conor, like as if he planned for that to happen. Which I just do not think is true. I think the sports betting is becoming ridiculous. Even I took a little lotto bet on that fight. I took a lotto bet on the dumbest thing possible, which is why I call it a lotto. Same as a lotto trade, you basically expect to lose. I took a lotto bet on it ending in submission because like neither one of them ever submit anybody. Possibly a headline here. Most definitely a headline. We'll keep an eye on that. But it was paying 10 to 1. So I took a little bit of a gamble on that one. Obviously did not make that money. But yeah, I feel bad for the guy, man. I think everyone's blaming him like he did it on purpose. I just do not agree. I think it was another freak injury that was really unfortunate. We'll see what this headline is. I think there are potential strikes going on. Let me see. What's oil doing? Yeah, it's definitely an oil thing. There's definitely strikes going on. Yeah, I don't believe they've said exactly what the injury is. But if the injury is more than like a year's time, I think he's done, unfortunately. There's something going on with Iran, I'm guessing, because there's a spike in oil as well. Yeah, I think the most obvious thing is either an ACL tear or like something to do with his knee. If it's ACL, he's probably done. ACLs take a very long time to heal. Trump said he is reinstating the Iranian blockade. So that is what's causing this little move here. But yeah, I partially blame UFC, blame the Paramount deal, because more details were coming out on like why Conor was not fighting for so long and why he was like kind of avoiding Chandler. It wasn't, well, this is like a rumor. It's not confirmed, but it's a very strong rumor. A very strong rumor is they were not letting Conor fight because they wanted to use him on the Paramount deal. They did not want to use their top grossing athlete on a deal that was already expired on the ESPN deal. So they wanted to sign Conor for a 2-fight contract on the Paramount deal or whoever won that bid. So until that bid was finalized, they were just holding him hostage, basically. And that took, like, what, 2 years or 3 years or however long it was. So they're definitely partially to blame for that long wait, unfortunately. Yeah, hopefully it's not an ACL tear. Hopefully it's something minor and he heals and we can get one more fight out of him and then he retires. Yeah, I think everybody talking about all this stuff like before the fight, I think they're just hyper analyzing it. I really think it was just a freak accident. That's my opinion. You can have your opinion. I think it's one of those things that we see in trading all the time, so it's very easy for me to see it in fighting. People are just using hindsight information to say that something before was so obvious when it wasn't. Keep an eye on the back test of VWAP here. This is just a response to the headline, so we don't really know how it's going to react here. Yeah, Connor has never been an active fighter. Even when he was in his prime, he was not a very active fighter. That's actually one of the things that people say about him, like, that's like his biggest negative for his career, is he could have been, like, arguably one of the greatest of all time if he was actively fighting, but he's just not a very active fighter. What pains me, and we talk about it all the time in these little rants, is like the casual fans or like the people that just started watching UFC disrespecting Connor because they did not see him in like his prime. They didn't see him in his golden era. And they just do not understand that a lot of these fighters that are even disrespecting Connor themselves, a lot of them have jobs because of Connor. Connor was one of the biggest reasons the UFC blew up in that era. It's like Ronda Rousey. Like a lot of the female fighters, if they try to talk shit to Ronda Rousey, it's insane because they quite literally have jobs because of Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey gave them an opportunity, gave them a career. If she didn't blow up the female division when she did, the female division would have like barely even existed in UFC. So it's one of those things where you see like the old guard being taken over by the new guard, and the new guard is disrespecting the old guard when they literally have jobs because of them. Keep an eye on the 30-minute close here. We will have single prints back to 90 if it closes below that. And funny enough, where is 90? 90 is the value low, so very important level here. One of the last things I'll say is it was actually very surreal seeing Paddy fight right before Connor, and Paddy like absolutely look phenomenal, and then Connor, obviously what happened with Connor, and they're very very similar, right? They're almost their like rise to fame is almost identical. So you're like literally seeing exactly what I just said. You're seeing the new guard take over the old guard, and funny enough, Paddy said this exact thing in the post-fight interview. He said the exact same thing. He said it's just time for the old guard to give up and for him to take over. And he was saying it's time for him to be like the superstar of the UFC. And that's just what it is. Fighters have their time. They get old and people take over. Unfortunately, it's probably going to happen with Gaethje if Gaethje keeps fighting. If he fights into his 40s, like 2 or 3 more fights, he's probably going to start doing terribly. And people are going to talk all this shit about how he's dog shit when he's, in fact, one of the greats, right? But that's just fight fans. I think people in general, they're so short-sighted and closed-minded. They see it one fight at a time, and they don't look at careers, right? But yeah, I think Connor's biggest enemy is the money and him liking to party and him not being an active fighter. That's his biggest crutch on his career. Because when you're not active, your body just can't take shit like that, like throwing flying kicks, right? He's almost 40. He's not very active. That was also his leg that was not hit. Keep an eye on VWAP here. VWAP hit. Where is that? 700. That was his leg that was not injured over the 5 years. He broke his other leg. So going through training, he's probably overcompensating, right? Overcompensating, and that leg gets injured, unfortunately. But yeah, if you guys are like new fight fans, you guys really have to go back and watch him in his prime before you start talking shit. You guys just don't understand how good he was. His first fights going into his first defeat was Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz choked him out, and then funny enough, like his fight after that, I think fight after, like 2 fights after, he got choked out again. So like his only losses are like being choked out or being injured. Actually, no, he got knocked out by Dustin, I think. He's only been knocked out 1 time, I believe. I think Dustin knocked him out, TKO, and then every other defeat was either an injury or being choked out. But yeah, his first like 10 fights, some of the best UFC you'll ever watch. But casuals and new fight fans just don't see that. They just see the Connor that is like a multimillionaire and he's this like cocaine addicted addict, right? Keep it on that bear flag in the VWAP here. Still responding to that headline. This is the exact move we constantly see. We constantly see these headlines get a little bit of an overreaction, and then they retrace that overreaction. This is just showing you the market does not give a shit about Iran anymore. They act like they give a shit. The bots trade the headlines, and then it gives up the headline right away. You can see it on the oil chart. They have not cared really since like April or May. We've had so many bullish headlines for oil around this like May to July, and it's going down anyway, right? It just shows you they overpriced it in, and now they are correcting it. But yeah, long story short, I just think he's old. He most likely would have lost that fight anyway. If it went farther than like 2 rounds, he was going to lose. But yeah, hearing Connor get booed, I think it's the first time he's ever been booed. Max had a really bad statement at the end. He said something like, he was talking to the fans and he said like, "Oh, it's okay. We'll run it back. Let's get that money, right?" And the whole crowd started booing because they just paid thousands of dollars to see that. So it was a little bit out of touch when he said that. Possibly seen this as a bulldog on NASDAQ, double bottom with a curved back popping up into VWAP. This would be a bad variation of the bulldog because you're running into VWAP. So it's more like a bear flag into VWAP. We'll see how it responds. Yeah, read the room, exactly, yeah. I think Max was just overjoyed that he didn't even take a punch, and he probably made like a disgusting amount of money. He probably made 5 or 10 mil if I had to guess. Okay, here's VWAP. Is it going to respond to VWAP here? If it doesn't, it's just going back into rotation. But yeah, that's why everybody talks shit to Conor, because he's the #1 grossing UFC star. So they all want to fight him. He makes them millionaires by just stepping in the cage. What was the program for the reduced blue light? It's f.lux, so I just call it flux. Yeah, I think Patty versus Ilya is 100% the fight they should be pushing. No reaction to VWAP so far. But yeah, don't get me wrong. I am a huge Max fan. Like, before Gaethje started blowing up, Max was like my favorite fighter to watch. Max was incredibly entertaining to watch. And then Gaethje kind of just became my favorite fighter because it's Gaethje, right? He's insane. But this is, I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't know if this is the normal take or a hot take. I don't think Prime versus Prime Max wins that fight. I think Conor destroys Max, Prime versus Prime. And like I said, I think you have to go back and watch Conor like when he was really good to understand that. Conor is quite literally designed to beat people like Max. Like in his prime, he is designed to beat those strikers. That's why like Prime Conor versus Prime Ilya would have been an amazing fight. Probably like Hall of Fame fight. I don't know who wins that one. That one's a little bit harder. But still, that Conor is designed to beat people like Ilya as well. And you saw that in the first time that Conor fought Max. He destroyed Max, but Max got a lot better over... That wasn't like Max in his prime. He got a lot better after that. But if you watch that first fight, he didn't stand a chance. Like, Conor was destroying him. Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about today. If you guys were using, I think it's called like Alpha Futures or whatnot. I think it's Alpha Funding or Alpha Futures, whatever it is. They were one of the popular ones. They're probably like in the top 10. They're not like in the top 3, I don't think, but they're one of the big ones. I don't think they're like completely doing a rug pull. I have to look more into it. But from what I read, they're like, they had like different kinds of accounts that you could have. If anyone trades on Alpha, you guys could help me here because I haven't traded on them. But they had like different kinds of accounts that you could use. And they just randomly, like overnight, canceled, I think, their largest portion of accounts. So anybody who had like payouts, even if they were like pending payouts, they basically just lost all of that money if they were using that type of account. So be careful if you guys are trading on that prop firm, because like I said, I don't know if they're doing like a full-on scam rug pull. I just don't know. But I was reading a lot of headlines about they're kind of going that way, so be careful. And it's just a big reminder on why I am just pushing Apex and I'm not using 20 million codes on my screen to push all these other prop firms. Because I just don't know, right? I just don't know which prop firms I can truly trust and push those to my audience, right? I need to be very careful. And I've used Apex for years, and they've been around for years, and they have, like, if not the highest payouts, they're in the top 3 of payouts. So I know that I can trust them, at least a very, very high degree, right? So that's why you guys always ask me for codes for all these different prop firms. I just don't do that. I just don't go get codes for every single prop firm. I learned this because of crypto, right? Crypto, we had to play hot potato with crypto and go from firm to firm to firm because they just kept getting shut down. And I would keep telling people, like, hey guys, I'm not really pushing this firm, but this is who I'm using. And then, like, a month or two later, all right, hey guys, I got to switch firms. Now I'm using this firm. And it just got ridiculous with crypto. So now I don't play the hot potato game. I just stick to who I can trust, and I stick to the big boys, right? But yeah, if you guys were massively impacted by that, if you guys are in Discord or if you guys are in the stream, just send me an email. I'll see if I can get you guys like a free Apex account or something like that. See if I can help you guys a little bit. You know what I mean? Shit like that is really hard to deal with. Hey, WL, I appreciate the donation, man. You don't have to donate to ask questions, but I do appreciate that. How about Top Step? I don't use Top Step, but they are one of the big boys. So I wouldn't say that they're like not trustworthy. I just don't use them. I think Apex is better than them in almost every way. Um, but I wouldn't be afraid of them like scamming you. They're one of the big dogs, right? They've been around for a long time. Top Step were one of the firms that blew up in the beginning of like the online prop firm era. So they might have some harsh rules, but I wouldn't be worried about them like scamming you. I don't think they're going to scam you. They paid over 25 million. That was part of their response. Yeah, 25 million in this game is really not that much. I think Apex is closing in on $1 billion, aren't they? I don't know the exact number. But I think they're in the B game. They're closing on the billies, not the millies, right? Yeah, exactly. Like I said, if you were impacted by that, if you lost a lot of money from that, just send me an email or message me in Discord. I'll see what I can do. No promises, but I will see. Okay, now we are starting to curl off of VWAP. We just got our first momentum candle, that last 1 minute close. So now we're actually kind of sweeping VWAP here. Keep it on that 90 level. We're still not building any value below 90 here. Oil is completely calmed down, so they already do not care about that headline. Today is kind of just a wait and see day. We talked about the calendar earlier, but if you guys are just coming in, big day tomorrow and Wednesday, and that's kind of it. CPI tomorrow, PPI Wednesday, and then a little bit of data Thursday, Friday, but it kind of calms down at the end of the week. It's hard to believe that any of these companies make as much as they do just from subscriptions and fees. I don't think so. I think trading is very popular, and I think also because you can kind of see it go hand in hand with the sports betting and the like prediction market. They all kind of go hand in hand, like trading, prediction market, sports betting. They're all getting pretty popular. I don't think it's as popular as it was during like the COVID years. I think COVID was like a massive spike for trading. That's going to be very hard to beat. I don't know if we ever will beat something like that unless we have another kind of like pandemic, like stay-at-home event. But yeah, I think these companies do quite a lot of business. I think trading is definitely pretty popular. And like I said, at the end of the day, I think it's a good business. I think people should be using them as opposed to using their own money. They just keep getting better and better, really. As the years go on, they're just going to get better and better because they're competing with each other. This is the beauty of a free market, right? More competitors show up, they constantly keep changing their rules to compete with each other, which makes it better for the customer. So they're just going to keep getting better, and people are going to keep putting their money into them. The only thing that's getting worse is some of them are raising their prices because of inflation. Literally everything is just going up. But other than their prices, like their rules and whatnot, are just getting better, not worse. For the most part, some people are getting worse. At least I can speak for Apex, because that's who I use. Their rules have really only gotten better over the last 3 years, right? 4 years. What is Sam? Okay, keep a close eye on this 90 level here. We're not really seeing a strong node building below 90. They're building a little bit of one around 87. If they stay below 87 here, you could come down to that overnight low, which is around 67. Man, not a good sign. It's Monday and my throat already feels like it's shot. Must be lucrative. Well, I think a lot of the ones that are popping up are kind of like semi-scams, right? Because I think it's a very easy business to scam as well. Because people fall for that stuff that I constantly talk about on stream that you really need to not fall for. Is they're like, oh, let me look for the prop firm that has the best rules. I don't care if it's been around for a long time. I don't care if they have a lot of payouts. I just care about rules. So like a new firm will pop up. It will say like, oh, we have no rules. And then people will just throw their money at it, and then they get rug pulled. So I think it's an easy business to scam if the customer is not just doing their due diligence, right? It's also a good business because trading is just very hard. So it's like prop firms make money because trading is hard. And it's not like trading is going to get much easier over the years, right? Yeah, exactly, Anthony. It just comes down to the two things I always talk about. Taking accountability and having discipline in trading, right? People need to take the accountability for doing their due diligence and kind of trading with these firms that have a track record and they have good payouts, right? I used to constantly have to remind people about this on the crypto days because crypto is so easy to scam, right? All these meme coins and just complete scams. You can't put 100% of the blame on the scammer. They get a lot of the blame for sure. It's definitely one of those things that's disgusting to see. I'm not defending that at all. But you have to take some accountability, right? I got an email the other day about this company that I'm not going to name them or anything, but there was a company that was using me on their website. And they were saying that I was one of their traders and you can copy trade me and I have like 1,000% returns in the last year. Like just that dumb shit, right? And they were basically just using my likeness to scam people. And it wasn't just me. They're using a lot of the top streamers. And I was kind of responding to the person saying that, like, yeah, it sucks. Like, it's a very obvious scam, but it's a very obvious scam. Like, you can just read that site and tell it's a scam site. Like, it was just a really blatant scam site. And also it said that people were making like 1,000%, 100,000%, like just stupid numbers. And that's like one of those things where it's like you got to take some accountability. Like stuff like that is just very obvious. And if you're one of those people that are like, if you feel like you very easily get scammed, you might not want to be in the trading space. This is possibly one of the biggest scam spaces you can find. It's really hard to find honest people and people that are not scamming you. You just got to protect yourself in every way possible. Okay, like I was saying, just keep an eye on this overnight low here. Overnight low is 67. As long as we stay below 90, you're looking for 67. It's that simple, really. Man, my throat is shot already. Yeah, it's another big reason why I don't show my trades as well. Like, you guys just don't understand how stupidly easy that shit is to fake. And the fact that you guys, like, you should not take these people seriously. Like, even if they are showing you their trades, you should not take them seriously. Unless it's, like, without a doubt, like, 100% verifiable, you should not take them seriously. You can quite literally, like, press, like, 3 buttons, go into the web source, change your P&L, take a screenshot of it. It's like so ridiculous. And now with AI, like, come on. With AI, you could do it in like 2 seconds. My point is, like, even if I did show you guys all my trades, you still should not believe me. The way that you figure out if people like me are legit is you can watch the streams, you can watch the videos, whatever it is. You can put what we are teaching into practice, and is it working or not, right? Like, are the levels that I talk about every day working? Are the systems that I'm talking about working? Are my indicators doing what they're supposed to be doing? Like, shit like that, right? And like I said, trading is hard, so it's not going to work for everybody, but is it working for at least a sector of the community, right? A portion of the traders. And as we've seen, people posting payouts and talking about the value they get from the stream and whatnot, it seems like it's working, right? So as long as people are still getting value, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Keep an eye on VWAP here. VWAP back to 97. We are back in the danger zone. We are stuck between the VWAPs on NASDAQ. So this is kind of the chop zone. Like if you're looking for one directional plays, it is a danger zone because it can go back and forth, failing VWAPs over and over and over again. So be very careful here. Which one of my videos do I recommend to go over my strategy? I would recommend watching my Becoming an Apex Trader series. That goes over like my entire line of like how I would teach these topics. And then also the playbook. The playbook goes over like exact setups that we look for. But also just the shorts. I put out 4 shorts a week. And not all of them are on trading setups, but a lot of them are. So check out the YouTube shorts as well. Becoming an Apex trader, definitely the big one. Okay, are we going to respond to VWAP here? Is it going to respond to VWAP at 97? They know a lot of people are desperate. Yeah, exactly. And that's why those streams that show P&L and they do all that like clickbait marketing stuff, they have a lot more viewers than me. They do a lot better than me. They make a lot more money than me, like on the affiliate side and all that stuff. Because they're feeding into that. They're feeding into the impulsiveness of traders, right? I try really hard to not feed into you guys, feed into your impulsiveness, right? I barely do like any marketing on the stream whatsoever. Pretty much any of the times I'm talking about the prop firm stuff, it's because you guys are bringing it up in chat. I give away nearly all my shit for free, right? Yeah, so you asked a video for the liquidity map. It's really easy, actually. You just go into the settings. It's just a column. That's all it is. You set up the column. I don't even think I changed these settings. I might have changed. No, actually, I don't think I changed anything. Maybe these bars here. That one's all the way on the left. That one's all the way on the right. That's probably the only thing I changed. But yeah, there is a video. My latest Addis video goes over all of my settings, my entire workstation. Yeah, Victor, no problem, man. I appreciate you watching it. By the way, guys, this week will be our first week doing our new schedule for our shorts. So instead of doing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, we're just going to do them all on the weekend. So we're going to do 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. So you have to wait a little bit more for the shorts. But I think it will be better this way. We'll try it out. Because I don't stream on the weekends, I don't release like any videos or anything. Typically, it will give you guys some content to watch on the weekend. I also told my editor he could have a little bit more freedom. So he's going to play around with the shorts a little bit more. He might tune up the brain rot a little bit. We'll see how it goes. Okay, bear flag into VWAP. This is exactly what I said earlier about the bulldog being a bad bulldog because the bulldog was running into VWAP. So when you have a bulldog, let me go. It'll be easier if I show it this way. So VWAP is like right here. So a bulldog is when you have a double bottom, you have like a curved move here, and then you pop up and you put in like a little pullback, right? So like that could have been the pullback, or like that could have been the pullback, or like the whole thing could be the pullback. Doesn't matter. It just puts in a pullback. The problem is when this runs into VWAP, it turns into another trade. It turns into a bear flag into VWAP trade. So it becomes a bearish trade. And that's exactly what's happening here. So the bulldog, which is a bullish move, it's literally in the name, is turning into a bearish move because it's running into VWAP. If it was way below VWAP, let's say it did it down here, and you could target VWAP, that's perfectly fine. But if it's running into VWAP, it flips from being a bullish trade into a bearish trade. And that is what we are seeing here because it's failing VWAP. Trading the markets during the war has been very difficult. It has, yeah, for basically everybody, not just you. It's because it amplifies the thing that we cannot predict. It amplifies the headlines, right? It amplifies the random events, the black swans, the things that we just can't really predict, like this little pullback here. If you were in a buy, let's say you bought VWAP here, and then it was going up, you look really good, and then the headline comes out and kills your trade. You didn't do anything wrong here. You can't predict there's a random headline that's going to come out. This is why trading is hard. This is why stop losses exist, right? This is why you need to protect yourself in your trading, because we cannot predict everything. There are so many little things that happen that are just unpredictable. And that is why trading is not 100%. That is why we aim for 40 to 50%, and we need to be able to be profitable at 40 to 50%. Because there's so much that goes into that 50% of us losing that we just really can't predict. If you're playing the win rate game and you're constantly trying to raise your win rate to 80, 90, 100%, you're just not going to do it. There are exceptions. There are people that do very, very well that have very high win rates, but it is not the rule. It is not the common factor. I think most people should be aiming for like 40 to 50%. If they hit like 60% on a really good week or something, that's perfectly okay. But aiming to be 70, 80% accurate all the time, you're just setting yourself up for failure. There is just so much shit that we can't predict, especially in this market. Why do I choose ES over NASDAQ? Well, funny enough, it ties into exactly what I just said about not being able to predict things and the market kind of moving around a lot. ES, for the most part, right now we're not really seeing that. But for the most part, ES is a lot stickier and it doesn't move around that much with those black swan events or random events or sweeps or wicks, just that random stuff that happens. ES is a lot stickier usually. It has a lot better liquidity. Like I said, we're not really seeing that today, but over the grand scheme of things, it's usually the case. Still not able to build a major node below 90. They are protecting 90 to like 88, 85. You're getting exhausted every time you try to break through it. So that means you're rotating back into 604. That's exactly what happened to you. Thank God for stop losses. Yeah. Like I said, if you were in that buy, I would not beat yourself up. There's not really much you can do there. Yes, Chebby, they are a lot higher, actually. So funny enough, I used to teach that, and that was not the case before. Like, they were pretty equal before. But because the commissions on the large contracts have come down so much, they haven't really come down that much on the micros. So if you're trading the equal amount of micros compared to the bigs, you're actually trading like, or you're paying 3 to 4 times the commission rate. So commissions are a lot higher. They might have come down a little bit recently, so maybe it's like 2 to 3 times. But it is more. It's not identical. A big reason is because they charge you per contract, right? So you're trading 10 contracts compared to 1 contract. So even though one contract by itself is more than one contract from the micro, because you're being charged per contract, when you expand it, you're paying more. So you do have to be careful if you're like micro scalping, if you're trading a bunch of times every day. You need to be careful if you're trading a bunch of micros because those commissions will start to eat into your profits. For the most part, commissions, you don't really pay attention to them if you're trading the bigs or even trading micros. If you're only taking a couple trades per day, they're not that big of a deal. I don't even look at my commissions. They're basically paid for in like a couple of ticks or whatever. They're not a big deal. But if you're trading a ton of times with a bunch of micros, it's going to be painful. Yeah, Chubby, the only downside to doing that, like going back to one big, is being one in, one out. Like having one entry, one exit. It's a little painful. You're training your brain to be perfect, which is very difficult in trading. So every time you're not perfect, you're going to miss out on a lot of profits. You're going to mess your trade up a little bit. It causes you to like be very exact and very perfect in your management of your trade. If you're only one in, one out. But if you're 2 sets or 3 sets, it allows you to have runners. It allows you to have multiple exits. It allows you to not be perfect. You can think like, oh, it's getting a little weak here. Let me take some off, but I'll hold on to the rest. You can't do that if you're one in, one out. If you're one in, one out, the second you start seeing weakness, you're like, okay, I'm done. But then what if it keeps going? Then you're kind of screwed, right? So it's a little difficult being one in, one out. Yeah, modern, it's really up to you as a trader. Like some people really like that. They like that style of just being very fast and getting in, getting out because they get overly emotional. They mismanage their trades if they're holding on to them for a long time. They overanalyze, they start moving their trades around way too much, they start getting in and out way too much. They just can't deal with that stress of being in a trade. So they like just getting in, getting out very, very quick. But on the other side of traders, kind of like me, I don't like to do that. I don't like to micro scalp. Because I like giving the trade time to breathe. I like that time in the trade. I think it's a positive, not a negative. I think micro scalping is also very mentally exhausting. So, like, if you're constantly in and out for a couple of points, you're doing that 20, 30 times a day, it can be very mentally exhausting. It's also very difficult for me to trade like that when I'm streaming and when I'm doing like Discord, like all my side stuff, right? Um, I wouldn't be able to like talk to you guys and trade like that. It's just very difficult. You have to like hyper analyze your trades. It's actually one of the big benefits of streaming for me that made me a better trader. Is it like made me realize that I was getting exhausted and it was really hard to trade like that. I could just be a bit more patient and be a lot slower. Slower in a good way. But yeah, it'd be impossible for me to like micro scalp and like simultaneously look at chat and talk to you guys about UFC and like random shit, right? I'd have to hyper analyze my trades. Taking 1 or 2 trades a day. Yeah, exactly. Good morning, Tom. The buy I talked about, I don't remember what I was talking about, to be honest. It might have been a rotation. They were buying off the value low to the value high. That might have been it. How big did that bull div get? Was that the low a day? It was the low of day if you do not count the headline. There was that bull div here that gave you a really nice bottom, and it bounced up, and it looked really good, but then you had that headline that tried to break it, which it did break it, but then it swept. So the bull div was the true low, and then you had a fake break with the headline. That did sweep that pivot as well, that headline. So far, we have waterfalled into the 15-minute trail and the 30-minute trail. So if we can stay above like 750, it gets better on the higher time frames. But right now, it's still a little weak. Oh, by the way, guys, absolutely the last day. I believe this code expires today if it hasn't expired already. The Addis code. The Addis code, Baru10, 10% off. Today is your last day for that. Works on the annual and lifetime plans. Let me double check that it has not expired already. Let me see here. I don't think so. I think you have a few more hours. I think it expires at like 6 p.m. or something like that. So what are we at in the World Cup? It's at the semifinals, right? Did Norway lose their game? I didn't see that one. I think it was what, Norway, England? Oh yeah, they lost by 1. Don't get them started. Yeah, I saw there was like a controversy with that game. I didn't look into it too much because I don't really care that much, but I saw the headlines about it. I feel like there's been controversies in like every major game though. Been dealing with people bashing England on YouTube. Yeah, that's the downside to the World Cup. Some people take it a little too seriously. So who's the fourth team? It's France, Argentina, England. Is it Spain? In Spain, gotcha. Isn't this like the exact top 4 that people were expecting, or were they expecting Norway instead of England? Norway was a surprise? Gotcha. My wife is from Colombia. I just left the house when they lose. That's funny. Yeah, I need to watch those videos because I saw that people were saying that the ball hit a wire or something, but the angle that I saw, you can't even see a wire or anything. I need to see which angle they're talking about. But like I said, I feel like there's been a major controversy in like all of these top games. I feel like that's just sports in general. It's like there's something for people to complain about during every single game. There's just more people complaining this time because it's World Cup. Yeah, Roman, I've had that happen a couple times where you have to like refresh the page, unfortunately. Usually after like one refresh it works though. Yeah, exactly. It's just more people, more eyes, more people to complain. And a lot of the times they probably are valid complaints, right? It's not just people just bitching to bitch, right? They probably are valid complaints. But that's just the problem with sports. There's just all these things that they could do better that they don't. I mean, it's like go back to baseball. If you guys watch baseball, they still complain about the umpire and like that whole system. Failing VWAP again. If it stays below VWAP, you are looking for that prior low. This is a very weak sell-off, though. Keep an eye on that 90 yet again, like 88 to 90. We'll see if they find buyers on that value low. A little bit bottom heavy. Yeah, this topic is like completely out of my world. Like I just don't watch sports a lot, but back when I used to watch baseball more, and then I see highlights all the time. Like I see shorts all the time with baseball. I don't know why the algorithm pushes that shit so hard. But if there was ever an argument for like replacing humans with robots in sports, I feel like the umpire, and you guys can correct me if you guys are baseball like super fans, but I feel like the umpire is like the most easily replaceable role with a robot. I feel like there's just some roles in these sports that kind of like need to be replaced with bots if you want them to be like extremely accurate. What a sloppy market today on the like 1 minute time frame. Now most of these are just rotations, so if you just put in the value high and value low, it's not that bad. But if you're looking at it just in the sense of like the candles, it is a very back and forth market. And it's not staying in the same trend, which is the problem. Like it's not staying lower highs and lower lows, higher lows, higher highs. They're constantly going back and forth on which market structure they're trying to protect. That's when days like this become very hard to trade, right? That's why in the afternoon you see a lot of the times it's a lot easier to trade. It's a lot slower, but it's a lot easier because they do like maintaining that market structure, whichever side they pick. They do a good job protecting that. I think it was Friday where they protected like every single 30-minute low the entire time. BS, what are you talking about, man? Are you like 20 minutes delayed on chat? He said, boom, to the upside, told you 10 minutes ago. Are we looking at the same chart? He's living in the VOD, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's looking at. How zoomed in are we? Are we like here? Like holy shit, it's a massive move to the upside. Wow. That's massive. Can't believe I missed it. But no, honestly, guys, keep an eye on 88 to 90 here. We'll see if it bounces off that value low. I sound like a broken record. We've been saying the same thing all day, but that's just the way it is, right? If it rotates back, you're looking for 604 at the minimum 98. 98 is the POC. Little bottom heavy, a lot of bearish delta on the bottom half of this candle. You told me it's 661 on NASDAQ. Now it's 95. Okay. That's cool. Is that it? Reminds me of talking to my uncle back in the crypto days. He would be talking about these massive moves and he would be zoomed in on the 1 minute. Yeah, it used to happen on stream all the time. And people would be like, well, why is crypto down so much? And I'd pull up the chart, it'd be down like 2%. I'm like, are you guys new to crypto? Like 2%? Holy shit. What is 2% on crypto? All right, keep an eye on that rotation here, back to 97 and then back to around 600 and like 3 to 5, somewhere around there. Let's see if it can find any buyers here. It's very bottom heavy. It's actually insane. Do you guys see where we're glued to? I still have that level on our chart. It's 688. It is that same rollover pin that we have been talking about for what, 3 weeks now? 2 or 3 weeks, however long it's been. They love that level. It's been a month, actually. Sorry, not 2 or 3 weeks. It's been a month. Back on June 12th. We have been glued to that level. Not so much on ES, mostly on NASDAQ. Hey, Ryder, have a good day, man. I'll see you tomorrow. Watch out for CPI tomorrow, by the way. Yes, you're doing one of those things where like I don't know if you're meaning to do this, but you're like acting like you're arguing with me or like arguing with people in chat. I don't think anybody was saying that it wasn't going up. I don't think anybody was saying that it was like nuking or going down. You're fighting Ghost right now. I don't know if that's what you're trying to do. It might be just how I'm reading it. It reminds me of people who like they used to come in chat. Like, wait, this is way back in the day. I haven't had these people in a long time. But they would do this kind of sort of thing where they would like act like they were arguing with me, and they would say they were counter trading me and they were making so much money counter trading me, when like quite literally the chart that was in front of our very eyes was doing exactly what I said it was going to do, and it was like following our trade plan like to a T. But they were simultaneously saying they were counter trading me. I was like, what are we talking about? Are we looking at the same thing? A little bit of a failure to rotate here, not liking that VWAP. This full rotation wants to go back to 604, so if it cannot break through that VWAP, it is a half rotation. It is stuck between the value low and the POC. Still showing a bottom heavy candle here. A lot of bearish delta below that VWAP. I think the number one thing helping the buyers today is the fact that we have that gap that is still not being filled. It's probably why the sellers are so hesitant to be aggressive on these lows. You can't see the gap on the daily, so it doesn't have as much power. If you can see it on the daily, they act like very strong magnets. This one you can only see on the 30-minute. What's the POC on NASDAQ? Is it that pin level? It's got to be damn close. Yeah, it's literally almost that exact level. So yet another POC at almost the exact tick of that rollover level we've been talking about for a month. They just love that level. It is very rare to see these rollover levels act like a magnet for this long. Is it the POC for the entire range? I don't know if it will be. We'll see. It is. Yep. It is the POC for the entire range. So they absolutely love that level. That is the contract rollover from June to, what is that, September. Now, this normally happens, but not for this long. Like, it happens for maybe a week, maybe a few days. Happening for a month is kind of insane. Dig, what do you mean 720? Yeah, MAUs are very common. We see that kind of overlap, right? Consider broadcasting in 720 HD. I broadcast in the highest possible outside of 4K. I can't broadcast in 4K, but I have the highest possible settings outside of 4K. It goes all the way up to 1440p. So that's on your end. That's not on my end. This is the Momo. This is the indicator that I created. This is my indicator. The DBT Momo. It's weak economic data plus earnings info might push us out of this. Yeah, we do have CPI and PPI. Yeah. Yeah, Dig might be a YouTube issue. You might just have to restart YouTube, or might be an internet connection thing. Not sure. Yeah, I stream in the highest possible settings. If I go to 4K, it doesn't allow me to do the same thing I'm doing. I'd have to change my latency and all that stuff. Yeah, if you watch in 1440 or 1080, you should be fine. We are still seeing the same thing. They are protecting 90 and 88 the same way we have the entire day. The only exception was the headline. The headline caused a little bit of sell pressure. Outside of that headline, it has been protecting that value low the entire time. And you can even argue the headline and the time after it was still being protected because it came back into that value pretty much immediately. No, it's not entirely free. There are free ways you can get it. If you use the Apex code and send me an email, you can get it for free. If you're in Discord, it's a part of your Discord as well, which is not technically free. You're paying for Discord. And then you can find it on the site as well. But yeah, easiest way to get it for free is if you're using the Apex code, just send me an email and let me know, hey, here's my most recent receipt. Here is my TradingView username. Can I get access to the indicators? And I'll add you to both the indicators here and then also the bots as well. Seeing a lot of buzz with SpaceX doing exactly what we said it was going to do. This is the IPO pattern, right? Everyone's acting like it's the end of the world, but it's not the end of the world yet. We got to keep letting it go down. Like I said, this IPO pattern, for it to be like a true IPO pattern and to be a pretty decent investment, it would have to go below 100. You're looking at like 80 to 40. If it accumulates around like that area, wouldn't be too bad. But this is too early to say. You're just now losing the IPO lows. It's so funny to see that shit over and over again. Every IPO, people act like it's because that company sucks. And it's literally like almost every single IPO. People just have short-term memories, I guess. I don't know. Closest reference would just be like any momentum oscillator. RSI, MACD, all that stuff. I don't use any of those calculations. The indicator that I created is a complete logic-based indicator, and the logic is something that I made. It's not using formulas from those indicators, so I can't say that they're close. But if you're looking for a momentum oscillator, you're just looking at like MACD, RSI, all that stuff. But yeah, this is completely made from scratch. It typically waterfalls, Mauser. Like the typical IPO pattern is like panic selling. It's like people who bought the IPO trying to make it go up right away. They start panic selling. It typically goes down pretty fast. So we'll see if that's the case with SpaceX. SpaceX is a little bit different because it has a lot of hype. It's not like a normal IPO. It has a lot of hype. So did Fig. Fig had a lot of hype as well, but look what happened to that one. Having a pretty good day today, up 9% today. We talked about this one on Monday of last week. And it doesn't look too bad. But yeah, same thing with Fig. Had a lot of hype, and it just died. Oh, did that one IPO? I've been hearing a lot about that company. I didn't know if it IPO'd recently. So that's a company that's been around for a while, I think. I think it just entered the US market today. Hasn't that company been around for a while? Isn't that like, is it Korean or Japanese? Is SK South Korea? Is that what that means? Let me see. Which company is this? Yeah, South Korea. Yep. They're a big RAM company in South Korea. Yeah, same thing. Just watch that IPO pattern. So keep an eye on it like 6 months to a year in the future. And you always want to be able to get like a 2x. Like if it goes back to the IPO. So like if you think about where the IPO is, it's like 150. So you'd want to accumulate this below like 75. So like 75 to 50 would be a decent place to accumulate if that's where the accumulation comes in. But if you can't even get a double your money, it's not worth it, right? That's not the type of pattern you play. That's why PLTR was so good, because you could have like, I think it was a quadruple from the bottom. Okay, so PLTR was a weird one because PLTR, the bottom was very close to the IPO, but it was one of the ones that pumped. So it was a quadruple to the pump. So same idea, but it wasn't to the IPO. So from the bottom to the pump, I think it was like, what, a 5x or something like that? Yeah, about a 5 to 6x. Which obviously you easily got, but that was the big difference with PLTR. You had such a massive pump after the IPO, you had to target it instead of targeting the IPO itself. Opening day was Friday. That's not what it shows on TradingView. TradingView says today's the first day, so I don't know. But all right, guys, we're going to call it there. I appreciate you guys being here as always. Just keep an eye on the trade plan. We are just continuing these rotations. As long as it stays above 90, it's going to rotate back to like 602, 605. If it stays below that, it goes right back to 90. Right now, you have a bottom heavy rotation. It's being stuck at the VWAP in the POC, so you have a half rotation. So a little bit of a bearish bias. If it stays below 90, then it gets a lot weaker. One thing on Apex, they have a big discount going on right now on their 5-packs. Their 5-packs are like really cheap. If you guys are looking to get more accounts, you can use code BREW on that. And they're still 90% off on their regular accounts as well, with cheaper activation fees. But they have a special promotion, I believe, on their 5-packs, and they're like way cheaper. I think, I don't want to say exactly, but I was looking at the email. I think you're getting the 5-pack for like the price of like 2 accounts or something like that. Yeah, just do the math. You'll figure it out. But they're way cheaper. And yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you guys in Discord. Oh yeah, by the way, last day for the Addis code. So if you want to get Addis, today is the last day. This expires in like 6 hours. So brew 10 on Addis for 10% off the lifetime or the annual. And if you do buy one of those accounts, just send me an email and I will get you added to Discord as a little bit of a bonus. Here is my email. But all right, guys, I will be in Discord the rest of the day. If you're not in Discord, I will see you guys tomorrow. Be very careful. Trading in the morning tomorrow. There is CPI, and I believe it is at 8:30. Let me double check. It is, yep. 8:30 CPI data. Typically high impact. Recently, not so much. Recently, it has been a lot weaker. Yeah, keep an eye on that. But all right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys in Discord. Peace, everybody.